Okay. This is going to be a test. No, this is not a test. So anyhow, hello, I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist. And I tried this a few days ago. So if anybody sees this, hopefully somebody will see it. They'll see that it was an epic failure, and I had to do a video about my embarrassment of my epic failure because I have a young child who I desperately do not want to become more tech savvy than I am. That's always been I've always prided myself on being technologically advanced compared to most people I know. And, kids, they pick up things much quicker. And technology seems to be changing much faster. And Google changed a bunch of things. In fact, my video, I think they're fucking with because a lot of people are having a hard time watching it. But I don't know. That's a conspiracy theory. So anyways, I got a list of things I want to talk about. First thing was Christian viewers of my videos. So if you're not familiar with my stuff at all, I don't have a huge following, but I have, I do garner a little bit of attention. And I get into conversations with Christians. And I don't want to say they're unproductive because typically the people that I'm conversing with are not the people that I'm necessarily aiming at. Typically, people who have posted to respond on my videos are pretty dead set on what they think about things. They are not going to be swayed. Just as, I'll be honest, I'm not going to be swayed. I'm not going to be swayed by the argument, God is because God is. No Christian or any religion has ever given me anything to give me any reason to think that there's a God. And it's always like, I feel it in my heart, and look at the trees, and there's, the finely tuned universe. It's just, they're like the worst possible arguments, and they just seem ridiculous. But, I point to a mountain of evidence, and they're like, oh, that's only because of God. So obviously, I'm not going to sway anybody. But I wanted to have more direct interaction. I would like to have a more honest, upfront conversation because let's face it, when you post things online, you are just kind of throwing up. You're just saying whatever comes to mind because you're not really thinking about the person you're talking to. You're just wanting to get it off your chest, and that's what I do. I'm getting it off my chest, and it's hard for me to remember that I'm actually talking to a person, and may I, even though I don't think I am going to sway them, that's really what I'm going for. I want to sway them. I want to change their mind. I want them to see things as I do, not necessarily to make them agree with the things I agree with, but to understand where I'm coming from. Because I try to understand where Christians have come from, and Muslims and Jews, though I don't have very little interaction with people of other religions, because let's face it, this is America. It's a bunch of Christians. They all think this is a Christian nation. So I wanted to have some of these conversations that were less about me saying, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, and them saying, I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and a little bit more about just trying to convey my point of view, and let them tell me what their point of view is. If you're not being adversarial, it's a lot easier to tell somebody what you're thinking. But my last attempt at doing this, I did something wrong, and it was an utter fail. And whether that's my fault or Google's fault, somebody pointed out to me that programming error is not technology ignorance. Apparently English is also a weak point for me nowadays. Another thing, I've had this channel for, I think, 4 years now. Tom the Atheist on. The whole purpose of this channel was the atheist viewpoint on whatever subject it was that I was going to talk about. And I started another one called The Garden Atheist. And then Google decided that, we don't want any atheists talking anymore. So we're going to demonetize all their videos, and we're going to make it more difficult for them. And I said this in the last video. I noticed that the videos I have that are still running commercials are almost always religious commercials. Uh, and I've noticed that on a lot of atheist-focused videos, the commercials that Google runs are religious-based commercials. So Google is lying when they say, we don't, you're not meeting our customer base's needs with your videos. I think we're exactly fitting the needs. Their customers are religion, and they are targeting people who aren't religious, which are the atheists. So I think we're getting duped. But I wanted a new channel to talk about things other than atheism. Atheism was going to kind of be like the blanket, or just saying that I'm an atheist, but talk about gardening and talk about parenting and talking about my daughter, who I love talking about. Talk about government, talk about the metric system, just talk about other things, product reviews, things that have nothing to do with atheism, but just kind of being an open atheist about it. Because Christians are very fond of advertising that they are Christians. So I just thought having a channel that is not about atheism, but is about an atheist, if that makes any sense. Nothing is podcasts. I wish I could be invited to more podcasts. I've been on several podcasts. I was part of one called Packard Pokes At. In fact, I think tonight's when they do a show. So their show is going right now. Packard Pokes At. So go look for it. But he wanted to do talk about news events, and just I wasn't really interested in talking about news events. I wasn't so interested in the things he was wanting to do with the show, and I felt like a fifth wheel. I wasn't enthusiastic about taking part. I wanted to just talk, and it was his show, so he got to talk most of the time. And the few times that I got a chance to talk myself, I would run off like, well, kind of what I'm doing right now. And still, nobody's watching. Oh, we got 3 viewers. Oh, cool. Hello. So there's lots of podcasts out there, and I used to watch or listen to a bunch of atheist ones. And the atheist community got messed up. A lot of infighting, a lot of just petty bullshit. And they made the comparison that the atheist community is kind of doing what the Christian community has done for hundreds of years, which is splintering. David Smalley makes a very good point of saying, for the longest time, atheists just wanted to be heard. We wanted a place at the table. We just wanted to be accepted. And now that we've grown in numbers and there's more outspoken atheists and more people willing to say they're atheists, all of a sudden they're like, okay, now we've got a loud voice, so we can overtalk other people, and we can tell other people to start shutting up and take away their seat at the table. And that's really bad, and that's bad form. And I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. I was tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing about sexual harassment, and just really tired of hearing about atheism, because I'm an atheist. I'm an outspoken atheist. I know all there is to know about atheism, because atheism is just one single thing, which is I don't think there's a reason to think there's a God. That's it. And I have a fairly easy life. I haven't suffered much repercussions on being an atheist. And growing up, I was growing up with religion, but it was never really pushed on me. So, okay, somebody's dinging at me. Excuse me while I see who's dinging at me. Other things I'm involved with. PTA. The PTA is dinging at me because I've gotten more involved with things with my child. Because that's what I want to be involved with. I want to do things with my daughter. Though my wife left me, and she left me for God, of all things. She got very religious because she had a couple of traumatic events happen in her life, and she couldn't cope with it and got sucked into the church, which I was pushing her that way. So it's kind of my fault. She was really suffering and had a hard time coping. I'm like, go to church, find comfort there. And she found a group that pulled her in and told her a bunch of stuff. So she decided that that's what she wants, and I'm not what she wants, and I don't believe in God, so she can't be with me, and all that. Anyhow, so podcast. There's Packard Pokesett, so you should check out his show. I mean, it's a good show. Two Skeptical Chaps. Now, Spike and Dan. Hi, Spike and Dan. And I'm going to link you to this. It's one of the shows that I really like still, because they're not an atheist podcast, though I believe they're both atheists. They spend a lot of time, it's a British show, English show, and they spend a lot of time poking fun at America. Well, Trump. Well, everyone needs to poke fun at Trump because Trump he's a joke. I mean, I wish Trump would do things that no other candidate has done, because he's in an opportunity to do things, because he's not a politician. He doesn't play the game. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, obviously he does whatever the fuck he wants, but still he's catering to politicians, which, I'd say, Trump, stand on your own freaking balls and do what the hell you want to do. Stop catering to people. But he needs everybody to stroke his ego. So he caters to people, so they'll stroke his ego, and that's all he cares about. He doesn't give a damn about America. He doesn't give a damn about anything but himself. Little known fact, I was actually on one of his episodes of The Celebrity Apprentice. The one that had Meatloaf and I forget her name, but the actress who's deaf, and Rob Schneider from Twisted Sister. They were doing a promo for, one of their challenges was doing promo for 7-Up. And I am a display designer, so I was part of the show to design the display. So I got to meet Donald Trump, and I didn't even get a picture with him because I was like, I have no interest in Donald Trump. I mean, the millions of dollars that they spent on just the one episode so that they could say, oh, we raised $10,000 for charity, which is just crap. I mean, it's self-promotion. That's all it was. It was just a ridiculous amount of self-promotion, and then, throwing out a bone to some charity as if they were doing something. It's like, how about you spend those millions of dollars to charity and actually do something? But I've met Donald Trump. Didn't think very much of him. Didn't think much of his show. Don't think much of him as a human being. So I say, Dan and Spike, keep making fun of him, because he could be so much better if he just wasn't such an egotistical piece of crap. Another podcast I really like, and I mentioned David Smalley, Dogma Debate. I really like that show because he goes out of his way to talk to Christians, to have conversations about what they believe and why they believe it, and not necessarily how they're wrong, but what would change their mind or what swayed them to believe what they believe. Those are one of the things that I would like to do in live videos like this. I'd like to have the conversation with these Christians that I've been having conversations with, that have been not necessarily heated, but I pride myself on being Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist. But sometimes I'm not so friendly, because people say things that are just, to me, so ridiculously stupid that I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, do you read what you wrote and think, oh, sure, that makes sense? Because I'll give them a list of things that they find in the Bible that make absolutely no sense at all, and like, well, God can do anything, which is the blanket excuse for God. God can do anything. Anything's possible with God. And some of them are somewhat honest. Well, they'll say, if God is real, then anything is possible. It's like, yes, and if Harry Potter's world of Hogwarts was real, then anything is possible. It's this excuse of, if something, then anything. And it's just bullshit. Just, even if there was a God, I think it's more like Q from the Continuum. John, I forget his name, the actor's name, but a petty, petulant, childish, egotistical God would be the God that I would assume did exist. But there's really no reason for me to believe that there's a God. The finely tuned universe argument is just bullshit because the universe is not finely tuned for anything, much less life. And, the Big Bang, how can something come from nothing? It's like, well, that's what God is. God, where'd God come from? And if God is something, then there was always something, and it didn't necessarily have to be a God. People use the argument of the Big Bang. How can an explosion create something? I mean, was somebody threw off some dynamite and built a house? No, of course not. That explosions only destroy things, and it's just so dumb. It is a childish argument. And here's how I see the Big Bang. I'm one of those people who believe the universe comes in and out of existence. That the universe blows up and then contracts and blows up and contracts. But the start of nothing. Lawrence Krauss, who I've met a few times, a universe from nothing, but how everything came from nothing. Energy. Matter can be energy, and energy can become matter. Energy has no mass. It has no size. It is just energy. So you could have an infinite amount of energy that would create an infinite amount of mass, and vice versa. So the Big Bang was just a big ball of energy that had no mass. It was nothing but energy. And they created the universe. That's how I see things. No need for God, no need for anything. It just that evolution, the process of change over time explains literally everything. So there's no need for a God. The only need for God is for people to feel better. God has always been the excuse of, or not the excuse, but God has always been used as, why are we here? Why are there trees? Why are there this? Why is there that? Questions that people had that had no answer, they came up with gods. And the more we learned the actual answers to things, the more God became just this philosophical, God loves you and just bullshit. But people have grown up being told God is real, and it's hard for them to give that up. And it goes on generations and generations. It's like racism. Kids are not born racist. They're taught to be racists. And same with religion. Kids are not born religious. They're taught religion. And people have said, oh, God wrote that on your heart. Like, no, your parents wrote that on your freaking brain because nothing's written on your heart. Your heart is a muscle, damn it. So podcasts, I would like to be on more podcasts. I'd like to talk to people on podcasts. I'd like to be part of a podcast. But just one of those things. Anyhow, next on my list of things to do is agnostic.com. So all you non-believers, agnostics, nuns, atheists, there's a website called agnostic.com. And they promoted themselves as a dating website, but it's not really that. It's trying to be that. I don't know what it's trying to do. It's still growing. But it's sort of like Facebook in it, that it's a place where you can post things, post ideas, ask questions, and people can respond to you. And they get this point system, which the more points you get, the more you can do. Don't really understand that, but it's a scale of 1 to 10, and I'm on 6, which is pretty good. But it's an interesting site because it is focused entirely on those who don't believe that there is a God. So it's a place that you can go and make the assumption that everyone there kind of feels the way you do. Not necessarily thinks the way you do, because let's face it, atheists only agree on one thing. That's it. When it comes to politics or child rearing or anything, sex, anything, atheists don't agree. Hell, I know atheists who don't believe in evolution, which is fine because you don't need to believe in evolution. Evolution is true regardless of what you believe. Next on my list are events. I, for a while, was going to a lot of events, a lot of conferences. First one I went to was now I can't remember because it's been dismantled, as many of them have, PastaCon. PostCon that was first in Nebraska, and got to meet Neil deGrasse Tyson, and got to meet Lawrence Krauss for the first time, and got to meet Aaron Ra and Matt Dillahunty and Seth Andrews and Cara Santamaria, all these people that I've been for a long time just like idolizing. I don't get starstruck with TV or movie stars, but those people I was kind of starstruck. And Matt Dillahunty, when I finally got the nerve to talk to him, he was like, I'm just another person here for the conference. Don't be impressed by me. I talk a lot, so they let me talk. And it really made an impact on me that these people that come to these conferences, even the ones who are speaking, they're just wanting to be part of the same community. Those who are good at speaking are the ones that are speaking, but they're wanting to attend as much as anyone else. Lawrence Krauss, I was really kind of blown away with, because he was part of the conference. I mean, he was there to enjoy all of it. Stayed. They had a comedy night and a dance, and I got to dance with Lawrence Krauss. That was pretty cool. In fact, later on, he told me that it was Feynman who told him to dance, who gave him the courage to dance, or I forget exactly what he said, but he basically said Feynman told him, "Don't be afraid of what people think, just dance." Anyways, there's something about dancing, but it was pretty cool. Lawrence Krauss, I know right now there's a bit of a hubbub with sexual harassment with him, and from experience, I know he likes the ladies, and I completely believe that he had some inappropriate behavior. And unfortunately, when people have that much popularity, they tend to feel they have a little bit more freedom than other people. It's a shame. It's not right, but such is life. And he likes the attention, so I totally believe it. But I still like the guy. But anyways, I stopped going to these events because the whole atheist community was becoming not so much boring. I mean, I've heard it all, but there's just a lot of infighting that I just was losing interest in. Though there is one coming up next month, the American Atheist Conference, which a good friend of mine, in fact, a friend I met at the first PastaCon, and we've been to many conferences together since then. He's going. He wants me to go, so I'm going to go. And Hugh Laurie is going to be one of the speakers there. In fact, I guess the keynote speaker, the main guy. So I would really like to meet Hugh Laurie. That would be really cool. So I guess he is a bigwig because he's a TV movie star, and like I said, I'm not swayed by people who are TV and movie stars, but Hugh Laurie is a little different, I think. Not sure how. Stephen Fry is something I think I would more want to meet. And if you're keeping up with Stephen Fry, he recently had cancer, prostate cancer, and Stephen Fry is I like a lot because again, he's one of those people who just completely open and honest and just says what he's like a real person. He doesn't have any kind of facade. But it was interesting that he did a video on talking about his whole thing with prostate cancer and the whole process of when he found out and the surgery and not wanting to tell anybody. And I thought that was interesting. Okay. Last thing, secular coalition. We get the vote coming up pretty soon, a few weeks. The next election, midterm elections are coming. And this is our opportunity to rectify the mistakes that were made in the last election, where I think atheists failed. Atheists failed epically. I mean, personally, I think we should vote out everyone who's in office now. Whoever's in office, vote for somebody else. Maybe that's how Trump got in office. I mean, I was no fan of Hillary. I didn't necessarily want her in office, but I definitely did not want Trump. But I think we should vote people out. I think we should have the ability to vote no on people. I think we should have the ability to more directly unseat people who are in political office, because most of those people are there because they've got tons of money and they've made a full-time job of raising money so they can keep their job as politicians. And I think they're doing a shitty job. Anyhow, well, it looks like I'm down to 2 viewers. I think I'm gonna catch Aaron Raw is talking with Kent Hovind, so I may go catch that. But nobody in my chat room that I've noticed. So at least this time it worked. I got to be live and a few people got to watch. And so that's it. I would like to try this again. Probably do it Wednesday night again, middle of the week. I mean, Friday night. Who the hell wants to be watching a live show on YouTube? Could be out partying. I know I'd like to be out partying, but friend that I usually go out with is having to work. Sucks to be her. Anyhow, I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.